just real quick, just for anyone that is not just for because I I would like to assume most people know because you are a legend. Most people should know who you are, but just on the off chance that we got some people who been living under a rock. I am joined by Jimmy Palmiotti, probably what I would say the hardest working people in the comics industry. Like you came up, as I remember originally I encountered your work when you were inking.
Yes.
Doing because I believe you were doing like Punisher and like Ghost Rider.
Yeah, those
And
were my first two books. I was helping a high school buddy, Mark Texera. He was doing 2 books a month, pencil and ink, and I was helping him, and that's how eventually I got into Marvel. He would have me come up to the office, and I'd work with him all night. And the editors, I would show them my work, and eventually they saw how hard I was working. They eventually started giving me work. So it was a slow. It took a while to break in, but once I broke in, and I got very busy.
Oh man. Well, I mean, you've done a lot. I know. You even coming from like just you doing inks and stuff for those comics. But I mean, you've worked across Marvel, DC. You were. I would call you the one of the architects of the Marvel Knights.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was a little later on, but when I started, I didn't start really doing comics till I was around 30. And what I learned from my 8 years in advertising was you just don't work for one person all the time. So when I started getting inking work, I made sure I worked for Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Valiant, any company, Image, any company was out there that would hire me, because I didn't want any one company having me to keep the conversation going with other people. And eventually when you're inking, you start to get artists asking for you. And that's what happened with a lot of my work, is that I had people ask me, hey, can Jimmy ink that? And that's how I started getting a lot of work. Also at the same time, I met Joe Quesada, and we started working together on some Valiant comics, like we did Exo Zero and Ninjak. And at the time I was also inking Solar. So we were working together. And then in like 94, 95, we created Event Comics, which was our company, where we did Painkiller Jane and Ash and Kid Death and Fluffy and a bunch of books like that. And then while we were doing pretty successful with that stuff, that's when we got the call from Marvel for Joe and I to come up and create Marvel Knights for them. Go in and grab 4 titles and sort of make it our own, which is basically make it our own means hire everybody we know, which we did. Everyone from Kevin Smith to Mark Texera, of course, my high school buddy, and and that was quite successful when they were not very successful as a company at the time, when Marvel was in Chapter 11, and we came in and they were looking just for a little extra spark. And what our spark was we put the right people on the right books. We got better coloring done for the books, with guys like Brian Haberlin coming in and revamping all that. And that went for a couple of years. We did really good and good work. And then I split and started doing my own stuff and started writing my own books, and working with Justin Gray, who at one point was my intern at mine and Joe's intern at Marvel Knights. And then we did like a couple of 5 years of Jonah Hex, and I did a whole bunch of runs. I did runs on Punisher, Deadpool. I wrote a bunch of a year's worth of Deadpool. And I've been working ever since.
Well, I know, just for me, I know one of the books that really stuck out was when I think this was like kind of in the New 52 era, for DC Comics, when you were on Harley Quinn,
right?
With your wife Amanda.
Yeah.
And like, because I remember it was at this kind of time where I think Harley had already kind of like technically crossed over out of like the Batman animated series stuff, but
Yeah.
like I think that was really kind of that moment around that time frame where Harley's star just kind of like shot up.
Yeah,
And
when we got the approach to do the comic, it was already canceled.
really,
And yeah, and it was a canceled book. They canceled it for a couple of years before. The sales just weren't there.
mm-hmm.
The character made a comeback in the Injustice game,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a game that Justin Gray and I co-wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And then they weren't doing anything with the character. And one day Dan DiDio just came to me and said, "Hey, how about you and Amanda doing Harley Quinn?" And we came back and said, "Well, we want to change her costume and we want to make her break up with the Joker and a
Mm-hmm.
whole bunch of things." And then
All healthy decisions.
yeah, and they thought it would only last 6 or 7 issues, maybe a year tops. But by like the second or third issue, the thing was selling like a monster, and
Mm-hmm.
we wound up staying on the book for over 5 years on that book. I mean, we've done over 110 issues, I think, of the book in a row.
Jesus.
Yeah, so it's something you don't see that much in comics. But I will say the good thing in comics is when there is a continuous team on something, people tend to stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the thing we have right now with comics is the teams come and go so much that people lose interest. But we had our audience steady for that whole series, and yeah, that was just one of the highlights. I mean, I look at Daredevil with Kevin Smith and Joe, and I look at all different books like Jonah Hex's, and like a career is like a roller coaster ride. Like you hit these peaks, then you go down, you hit them again. You go if you're lucky.
Yeah.
I've been pretty lucky in my career. Basically just being aggressive with the right things and kind of having a sense of humor with other stuff. You have to have a sense of humor in this life, otherwise you're doomed.
Yeah. Oh no, that those are words to live by.
Yeah.
Well, like now, like, and I thought this was just kind of just wild that this was a thing. I actually remember when Nick Barucci had hit me up and kind of gave me the heads up on the what was going on with the upcoming Harley Quinn Elvira crossover. Like, honestly, I thought he was, not gonna lie, I thought he was fucking with me at first, because I know Nick's a kidder, but like he was like, oh no, he's like it's real, and he started showing me some stuff, and I was like this is wild enough to work. Like, how did all that, like, how did that all come together? Was that something like you pitched, or was it something that like got shot your way?
It was definitely not something I pitched. It was Marie Javins at DC and Nikki, I guess, have been talking, and they were trying to figure out what would cross over, and they thought Harley and Elvira would be a good combination, which I agree with.
Yeah.
And I think they both knew that, yeah, we better call Jimmy and Amanda for this one, see if they're interested first. And we were laughing when we heard it, and we said, well, that could work, actually, because we can do a Halloween themed story, and it is a lot of work, the book, because it has to get approved by DC, it has to get approved by Dynamite, and then Elvira herself, Cassandra, goes over every single line of the book. So it's a little bit of a slow process, but it's a fun book. I mean, it's her voice when you read it. She's if she doesn't like a line, she changes it. On her character. And so we're having a good time, but it is definitely a crazy comic. It definitely is not what people are going to expect. And it also takes place in the DCU. So we do have some guest stars along the way in the book. Because anybody that knows us, we can't resist certain characters. But it's like I said, some of those crossovers make for some really good comics. And this one, like I said, I think this one is a standout because it's like anybody that likes Elvira probably likes Harley, maybe, and vice versa, But as far as crossovers go, I think it's going to be something unique and fun, and it comes out in August, so I figure those dog days of heat, you can sit inside and read a comic and get a giggle out of it. It is kind of a fun book.
Well, that's what it looked like to me. Just the very idea of it too, just because I think you're right. They are characters who are they have some similar, I guess, kind of ways of thinking going on. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if to help you out for our shorthand, Harley's always been like Bugs Bunny.
Okay. Yeah.
She's like a troublemaker that stirs the shit and then watches everything collide. And Elvira to me, now I'm dating myself. This is way before I was born, but there was a comedian a long time ago named Groucho Marx who would always have a wisecrack for everything. And Elvira has that kind of feel to her where she's always wisecracking and it's always in a sexual innuendo.
Right.
So, when we're writing it, we do hear the distinctive voices. And that's what makes a great comic. Because if they sounded alike, it would never work. It'd just be boring, But they're two different characters where Elvira is not a killer, a murderer, or any of that stuff. Hardly anything goes. So having these two together creates a lot of chaos, I will say, among themselves.
Well, and something I was curious about too, is with this series, because correct me if I'm wrong, it's gonna be both you and Amanda on this, and kind of bringing that voice of Harley back.
Yes.
And I guess for having coming back to the series after like literally kind of making Harley who she is, like basically the Harley that, like, I mean, the animated series, great, but I feel like the Harley that everyone really knows now is y'all's version of Harley. Right. So like after having kind of taken a break from her, what did it feel like kind of getting back in the saddle, writing her again?
It's really easy because it's not that we stopped because we ran out of stories. That's not why we stopped. We stopped because at one point towards the end, they had us doing 3 books a month. And we could not keep it up. And we had to, honestly, Amanda and I had to take a break after 5 years straight. And we just stopped because we have a book full of story ideas, but we stopped because we needed a break. And it gave the character, I think, room to breathe a little bit. Of course, the animation show was based on our book. And, and then a lot of Harley's been done ever since. But the Harley they did while we weren't doing it was all out of continuity with each other. There was, even when the regular series went, they had specials that had a different continuity. There was no other definite Harley team in the years since we left. It's always been kind of moving around, different people at the plate taking a shot at the character. So to come back, it's pretty easy. I mean, it's like we never left for us. As a matter of fact, the book is set not in Gotham because we don't go near Gotham. Gotham's Batman's place. Coney Island in Brooklyn is Harley's place.
Right.
And so we have her back in Brooklyn with her supporting cast that we had in the book before, because I think that's what people want to see anyway. And it's fun to come back because, it's one of the easiest characters Amanda and I have ever written. It's just, you can literally do books about anything and it works with Harley. Harley's not a character. It's not a comic where you have, here's the villain this month and she's going to fight the villain. That is pretty much every single other comic there is out there. So if you do that, it sort of gets tired real quick. We've always kept the Harley books as a slice of life. Like, we're following her all the time. When we do the Harley comic, the camera's always on her. We're following everything she's doing at all times. Not a lot of comics do that. They spend a lot of time with the villains. They spend a lot of time with supporting it. Our thing is always Harley's point of view is a steady thing in the book. And that's what we've trained the audience over the years, is that's the way we see this book. So it's pretty easy to write. Like I said, this one has a little more getting approvals attached to it, that we're not used to, because Amanda and I used to just write it and hand it in and then get on the next one. But that said, this one has a little more finesse to it than the other books, because it has a lot of people looking at it. There's a lot at stake for both sides on this, because it's their first crossover, I think.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to deliver the book that everybody wants to see, and I hope they like it.
Well, you already had me on board, but
Right.
but yeah, I like I said, I've been telling people like, look, go to your LCS. You know, these are the types of things like, you know, you got to ask for it. I
Yeah.
always like to use my more recent experiences in comic shops where, you know, depending on what city you live in, you know, what kind of, you know, comic shop you have in your area. I know some
Yeah.
comic shops, they'll order some things, not order others. So I just always encourage people, when you go in your LCS, regardless of whether you have like a shop that gets everything or a shop that only gets certain things, ask
Right.
for it because it just guarantees you get it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely,
yeah,
dude.
and
Absolutely. I mean, most of the comic shops I know don't carry every comic that comes out. Uh,
mhm,
I happen to be lucky. I have my office in a shop called Emerald City Comics. They
mhm,
literally order every book that comes out. But there are so many shops that you have to go into. I even had that experience with Pop Kill that came out. Certain
mhm.
shops had a lot of them. Certain shop, oh, I didn't order it, but everybody's been asking, and I'm just like, order it.
Yeah.
Like your only job is to make sure your patrons get exactly what they want every month. But
Mhm.
you're correct, Ernie. You have to kind of go in and say, hey, you know what? This is coming out in 3 months. Can you put me down for a copy of that?
Yeah.
Um, I do it. I have a pull list in my local comic shop, so they know what books I have to get. And then I go in and I tell them, I say, hey, listen, I know it's not for 2 or 3 months, but make sure I get one of each of these cover, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, I think that's the way we've been trained. I think that's the way it is, and I feel bad when people go in a comic shop and they see that sold out sign. Uh,
Yeah.
and it happens. It happens a lot, you know.
I literally had it happen just a couple of weeks. Like I always tell people, like it blew my mind because I guess you know it's been a while since I've actually like worked in a comic book shop capacity, but I just always kind of felt like, you know what, yeah. My assumption is like, hey, if I find out that there's this Eisner Award winning comic that you know is coming out, like I'm like, surely someone's gonna like stock it.
Right.
I'm not gonna have to ask for it. And then it's like I go, it's like, oh wait, they're not even stocking the Eisner Award winning comics. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I have to. I just like I tell people all the time, like, look, I get sent stuff a lot of times, but you know there are
Right.
lots of books I have to go and you know go pick up myself. And when I go pick them up, and I go in the shop and they say they don't have them, in a lot of ways, I only blame myself because I
Right.
didn't ask for it. But like in a lot of cases where I'm like, man, I just kind of assumed y'all would have it. But yeah, you have to ask for those things. And
Oh, I mean, when I get an omnibus, I have to ask for it,
oh
right?
wow, really?
Because the stores sell out of them so quick.
Oh
Like,
man,
and so I always have to tell them, you know what, do me a favor, order me All-Star Western omnibus, right? No,
Mhm.
like you have to say it because what they do is the store only gets like two or three. They put them out, and a guy walks in that day and buys one, and it's
Mhm.
like so I always make sure my omnibuses and my trades are always ordered in advance. That's
Mhm.
the one thing because there's nothing more frustrating than trying to find a sold out omnibus. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Um, because
Oh
the
god.
prices they add on them, holy cow, man! It's some of them are just ridiculous.
Oh, I um I recently was trying to hunt down some books that had gone out of print.
Right,
And I tell people all the time, man, that's why I always say sometimes when you see these things out, you have to jump on like I'm in a bit I know I'm in a particular point of a business where like I'm recommending a lot of crap to people, but like I
right,
always say if it's something that you want, just go ahead and get it right then and there because if you
yeah,
wait, when you start going on these like there's been instances where I had to go on eBay to get something and it's
yeah.
like people are like or heaven forbid and Amazon's actually worse somehow where
Oh my
like
God, their used books are insane
oh
on
yeah
Amazon.
oh yeah no it's there I forget exactly which book it was but actually no I do remember what it was it was a Matt Fraction Hawkeye that I was trying to pick up and it was at the time the show was not out yet but I mean it was still out of print and I wish I'd
Right.
have waited because they clearly put it back in but I wanted the hardcover of it. I didn't want the regular one. I want the hardcover. I was like, I want it to be
Yeah.
special. And when I tried to buy it, it was like, oh, we want $400 for this. And I was like, that is insane. And yeah,
Yeah.
like that is just like
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
No, I like this book here. I just got this one. The
Oh
Welcome,
yeah.
right, The Punisher. But
Mm-hmm.
it's been released 4 times already.
Mhm.
And I say, well, how's it sell? They said it sells great every time, but we have to keep releasing it every 2 years because it sells out.
Yeah. And
And I'm like, that's great because it's popular.
right.
But the ones that are unpopular, they don't put them out again.
No.
It took me 2 years of bugging DC to get them to put out the Power Girl trade that Amanda and I did. And
What?
the reason they went for it is I showed them what they were getting on eBay for them, and they were like $150 to $200 each. And I said, you guys need to re-release this again, and they did, and it sold very well. But anyway, we're going all over the place.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
like
yeah.
two crazy. We're two crazy collectors that want what we want.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know what? I like to think of as first world problems, but yeah, I'd
Yes.
rather have these than somebody else's.
That's
But
true.
I do want to ask because like I say, I know you kind of alluded to it earlier. Just how busy you've been.
Yeah.
Because you don't just have Harley Quinn and Elvira on the horizon. You've also got the Blue Falcon and Dynomutt on the way. I think they're about a month apart.
Yeah, I
on
think
time.
September.
Yeah,
I think September is Blue Falcon and Dynamutt.
yeah.
That I have those two, and then I have my monthly, which is Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger for Todd.
Right.
That's my monthly. That comes out every month.
Mhm.
But
I
the
think
Blue
you just
Falcon
had an
book,
issue drop. I think.
yeah, just like last week, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, I go in a comic shop and I sign them and I go out and I get out. Because the comic people like to have a signed copy once in a while.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, the Blue Falcon stuff, I've been working on my end. It's all done. So
Okay.
because I've been working on it for the past 6 months, but they're drawing it, and I know the first issue. I've seen the first issue already, and it looks good.
Mhm.
I'm excited for that. I mean, I watched all the cartoons again because I didn't remember it too well. I remembered it was kind of silly
Yeah.
and ridiculous, and so I just kind of looked at it and I said, okay. And I looked at there was some comic adaptations of it over the years.
Right.
And one of them was like completely cartoon, just like the cartoon. Another one was deadly serious. And I'm somewhere in between. Like I'm somewhere in between. Although I will say when you get the first issue, I don't want to ruin it. How do I say this?
Yeah.
I will say the first issue of the dog is not a robot yet.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I will say Blue Falcon goes through some he goes through some stuff, in the issue. And Dynomutt's a real dog.
Mhm.
It's a little bit John Wick-ish.
Okay.
The first issue without getting that violent.
Mhm.
But a lot of the story is basically about, initially it's about Dynomutt, and then it's about Radley and what he has to deal with Blue Falcon. The cartoon really is so simple, it's not funny. It's a Batman ripoff, right? With a dog, with a robot dog. So I tried to kind of expand his universe a little bit and the character. And it's funny. I wrote the whole thing, and I don't know what people are going to think about it. Like I have no idea until it comes out, and people either start cursing me or thanking me. I have no idea how they're going to like it.
So I know, Dynamite's, they have their kind of preview books, or preview pages. I actually got to take a look at it. None of it was lettered. It was just like it was the unlettered pages. But even just from looking at that, like it gave me a really, I feel pretty clear idea of what maybe I should expect. But I liked what I saw. I'll say that. I liked what I saw.
I will say the opening is a little deceiving.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I open it with something happening later on, right?
Okay.
And then we go back to who he is. Like I have to treat the book like you don't know who any of these characters are.
Right.
It's the first time you're picking this up. I have to assume if you watched the cartoon, it was 35 years ago or 40 years ago. So most people haven't. So it's an introduction book, and it tells everything about you need to know about these guys. and then their world starts going into chaos right after that. You know, it's that things start happening. Like I said, I hope people like it. I have no idea. I just do the best job I can, and then it's really tough because if you write an established character, you know, you can kind of get a feel like, all right, I did good. If I wrote Batman, like, let me tell you something. Batman's the easiest book to write. If you want no challenge, read 3 Frank Miller Dark Knights, read the Mazzucchelli series. That's all people keep regurgitating. That's all Batman books are. I'm sorry, but it's the same thing over and over.
I mean, you're not wrong. No. Yeah, I mean, you're 1,000% correct. I'm not even disputing it. It's
no, the challenge for me with a Batman book is to make Bruce Wayne more interesting than Batman. That would be the challenge for me. You know, that I'd actually want to spend more time with Bruce Wayne. But Batman's the same thing. He's sulking. There's a villain that's, you know, blowing up stuff, and he's trying to find it, and he gets behind, and the cops chase him, and it's the same thing over and over. You know, so you know when you're writing it, you know you're hitting the right notes. I always say, you know, Batman doesn't win the Eisners. You know what I mean? None of these books, you know, it's because there's nothing new. When you approach a character like that, you have to think way outside the box. But there's a safety net there because the companies want you to just write the same thing over and over. They tell you they want different things, but they really don't, right? If they really wanted real things, that, you know, Bruce Wayne would move to Paris. You know what I'm saying? Like, there'd be all this other stuff, but it's the same villains in Gotham. It's why I took Harley out of Gotham. I'm like, as long as she's in there, she's a Batman secondary character,
right?
And you know, and I got to get her out of there because we're never gonna know who this girl is. Unless we see her own supporting cast, not Batman's supporting cast. Batman's got enough. That's enough of that. But I think these books are easy to write. I think Batman, Superman, they're kind of not a big challenge to me. I've always liked stuff that's a little difficult. Probably why I was attracted to Jonah Hex as well, because it's a whole different voice.
Right.
You know, but I forgot where I was rambling. Oh, so with Blue Falcon, you know, it's a Batman spinoff, right? So for me, it's like, I'm not going to write it like Batman. You know, I have to write him a little differently. I have him very dependent on Dynomutt, meaning he loves his dog. There's no Batman and Robin. He loves his dog. His dog is his life. That's his best buddy. And it's, if anything, I will say it's a superhero book about a man and his dog, a super guy and his dog. And Blue Falcon, by the way, doesn't really have powers, right? He you know, he's got inventions and he's got things that he can use. But Dynomutt actually is packing some heat in a way,
right?
You know, and Dynomutt is like the machine that keeps, you know, he can do this, he can do that, he can do that. So I think that's where the series is interesting. Also, the villain in the series is multi-layered. It's not. I like a villain that's at some point you can kind of relate to. Like, I get why that person's pissed off, and I get why that guy's doing this thing. I get it. It's not right, but I don't. I also understand why.
Right.
And I think that makes for a better villain. You know, your book has to have a strong villain to make the hero work. But yeah, I'm hoping people like it. I mean, I think it comes out in September.
Yeah, September 3rd.
September 3rd. Okay.
So,
yeah, it's a busy month for me. Busy. The end of the year, the next 6 or 8 months, or 6 months, I've got every month, I've probably got, like, every month as they go will be 1, 2, 3 different, because I have 2 other series that haven't announced yet starting in October. So there's going to be a lot of my name. You can curse at me for taking a lot of money out of your wallet, or you can be happy with some and hate other. All these books, by the way, have nothing to do with each other. So it's kind of fun. But I'm definitely feeling it. Like today, I'm going through deadlines. I'm looking. I have like a physical calendar.
Oh wow, yeah. So it
is paper. And I write down the deadlines for everything on it. So I'm constantly staring at it like it says 6 p.m. Ernie, right? So, but that's the way old people do it. Guys like me, digital's great, but it's not in your face. Like this is in my face,
Oh, I still have like notepads and stuff like around me because I'm real quick to
Post-its.
Yeah, like if I don't have those, I have a dry erase board that's ahead of me where I can kind of.
That's smart. That's really smart.
It's I like the digital notes, they're good, but if it's not physical, I need that extra check and balance to make sure I don't forget.
No, I it's funny because I tell people all the time I write different books and I write on little cards.
Mm-hmm.
I write the cast and then little notes about the cast on the cards for every different book. So this one I'm looking at is Deadly Tales of Gunslinger, and I have basically notes, and I have a drawer like this thick and I go, okay, I got to get on Blue Falcon. Let me get my Blue Falcon notes out.
That's actually not a bad idea. That you just put me on game.
Index cards are easier to maneuver. You can write on both sides.
Right.
Plus you just honestly you just make a stack of them. They're easy to stack.
Yeah.
And rather than using big pieces of paper which get all over the place, my index cards are pretty easy to maneuver. But I keep my casts and I keep them in a drawer. And if I have to go back to the title, I'll look and say, all right, yeah, that's the cousin of that. I was trying in one of the books I was doing, you'll see without getting there's little arrows pointing and that. It's because it's like two soldiers are talking. One of them married this person. That person had a baby with that one, and that one's son grew up to be this person. So I made a family tree for characters. So when they talk, I think I can understand like, okay, the character will go, well, my great grandfather was in World War I, and he knew this guy, and because of that, that's how he met his wife, and that's who she married, and that's what my father and mother are. Yeah, like you got to know that stuff, right?
Yes,
with your characters, because you can't keep making it up as you go along, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, can I rewrite issue 4 because I don't like the way I set that up, right?
It's like, no, that's an ink already. That's an ink already.
So it's a little writing thing. I remember when I took over when Todd McFarlane gave me Deadly Tales of Gunslinger. I gave him a 24-page Bible on the character, and he says, I don't even know all this stuff. And I said, well, I read your books and I took out the details, but I needed a timeline, And I said, so I have where the great grandparents started in Europe all the way to when they settled in the U.S., when the parents lived in Chicago, and then they eventually made their way west. And I think he was impressed, or he was probably thought I was crazy. But I also give that to my artists so they can sit there and go, oh, okay, that's why he's pissed off all the time, because his great uncle did this to it, like that kind of stuff. Comic people put it together afterwards, and you're not supposed to think about it. But I think the fun of writing is creating these worlds. That's part of world building.
Oh yeah, no, I've talked to a lot of different people. I've heard people give some different opinions about it, but I've always been of the belief that the world building should definitely not like be an afterthought. Like it should be something you think about later.
It shouldn't be the focus, but it should be settled in.
Right,
it should be there, but it shouldn't be it's sort of like history in comics. I shouldn't have to give you a history lesson. It should just be happening in that historic moment. Like I don't believe in beating people over the head with stuff, but I do believe in being historically accurate.
Yes.
And then when you do something like Blue Falcon, you're creating a little bit of the history of it, because somebody else will write it one day, and they could reference things. It's just good to have, I think.
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to make sure, because I know I had you till 6. I didn't want to like hold you up in case like if you had like I didn't know if you had like another interview or anything. But if you did have just a little bit more time, I did actually have. Okay.
I came on late, so
no. Like I said, it was. I blame Zoom. Is who I blame.
Well, it's good to blame Zoom. It's not a real person. We can blame them all we want. No guilt.
Zoom doesn't have feelings, I don't think.
Right, exactly.
But I did actually have this is probably less a question, more of a statement from one of my audience.
Okay.
But this right here, and let me move this out of the way. But
Are we live? Is this live? I don't even know.
Yeah,
It
we're
is
live.
live.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
live.
I apologize for
No.
everyone that we started late, because
Oh.
I'm like, I hate the idea of keeping people there. Oh my God, yeah.
No, you're good. Like I was telling people.
And here's me in the beginning rambling about how they're paying me less. But that's true everywhere. That's true everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter if you work in the corporate world, you work in the you work for a mom and pop, you work for you could be working for fucking McDonald's for all I care. It's everyone's kind of under the boot. Everyone's pretty much under the boot of capitalism.
It's the world we're in.
Yeah.
Anyway, you had a question.
Oh yeah. This is actually from one of my followers. Bone Factory says Jimmy and Amanda are two of my favorite creators to meet at cons. Always a delight to hang out with those two. Also, he is not a fan of Nazis.
Nope, not a big fan. No. I gotta say.
I follow you on social media, so like I will sometimes see where you'll kind of like interact with people and like and respond to stuff. So I like that. That's why I was always already entertained.
I try to be respectful until they're not respectful to me. Right.
That's fair. No, that's 100% fair.
So I know I disagree with even friends of mine, even have opinions I disagree with. Mm-hmm. We form our own opinions based on what we go through and what we know. Mm-hmm. And we always think we're right on some level because we've done the work for ourselves. Mm-hmm. But once in a while I am wrong. But I definitely have feelings about so I study history a lot. Mm-hmm. And I see the parallels, right? We have so many parallels going on right now. And yeah, so if I got to punch a Nazi, I punch a Nazi. I don't like Nazis. I never did. Obviously, World War II, my whole family fought in that. All my uncles were in the war.
Wow.
So they were not only in Germany and overseas, but they were also, my dad was in the Pacific Theater. So he was dealing with Japan and everything.
Okay.
And, I lost one uncle there. I never met him, obviously, gone before me, my dad's brother. One of my dad's brothers, there was 5 of them. But they all fought in the war. So I remember what they fought about, right? Because I read history, and I say, and my dad tells me what they fought about. And you see how they, controlling people, like they, it was Nazism and Hitler and all that stuff didn't happen overnight. It happened in slow formation. It's one thing gets pushed aside. What it is there's this basic plan that if you keep dumping stuff on the people, eventually they can't keep up with it anymore, and they tune it out. And when they tune it out, that's when governments can do anything they want. Mm-hmm. So we see a lot of that happening. I don't know how many people in your audience turn on the news every day and go, "What happened now?" or "What did they do now?" or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the main things. Is to make people, not interested, don't care. Hey, it's not happening to me. I don't care. I don't watch the news anymore. How much you hear that? I don't watch the news anymore. The problem with that, right, is that's exactly what people want. They want people when no matter who they are, Democratic, Republican, I don't give a shit. I call them politicians, right? They say they want your opinion. They say they want to hear your voice. They just want to do what they want to do, and it is greed based and it is power based. And they do want you to turn off the news, and they do not want you to not care anymore, and they do want to beat it in your head to the point where you feel whatever you're doing is useless. Mm-hmm. We had a thing in the United States a couple weeks ago where people went into the streets and, said their opinion, right? Peaceful demonstrations all over the United States, everywhere. It was in every state and every city.
Oh, yeah.
People there's a group of people out there who said, well, that doesn't matter. Look what it did. It did nothing. And I said, no, what it did is shows that we can still have a voice and we can change things. And the people in charge have to pay attention because it's not a couple of people, it's millions upon millions and millions of people. But they would like you to think it was nothing, and the news media would like to bury it in one day.
Oh yeah.
But it's hard to do that when you see people making signs and getting whole families outside. Or how we have people blocking people from kidnapping and taking people out of, without due process. Where, due process is important. So I do have opinions about that. People can disagree with me, but if we talk about comics, we have a lot in common. My politics lean towards I want everybody to be treated respectfully. I need everybody to have due process if something happens to them. And I also think no matter what your color, your race, whatever, you should be treated well. You should be treated with respect. And I think everyone on both sides kind of want that. It's just that it's beneficial for the news and ratings, and it's beneficial for all these people to keep us divided because it keeps people watching their stuff. But at the end of the day, we all want everybody to be fair. We want everybody to be healthy and happy. I want everybody to have medical coverage. I want you to have much success. I want everybody around me to be comfortable and happy. I find when people are healthy and happy, they tend to take everything else better.
Oh no, 100%. It shames me to see sometimes that there are people out there that are being basically drug off the street. That there's people out there that are being discriminated against. There's and in some cases people who I've seen in some instances people who speak up and try and say something, people trying to silence them,
right?
And and all that stuff. It's a basic human rights, all for basic human rights.
It's not good because it's power hungry stuff. The people who agree with that behavior, I find they feel like they're behind the 8 ball, and they feel like they've been misled or they've been fed that things are so out of control that we just have the right to go and kidnap people in the middle of the night. But honestly, if people are in the country illegal, and there's no reason to go to their house. I mean, I think when Obama was in office, he was the deportation president.
We just call him the deporter in chief.
Yeah, he was the deporter in chief. He did not go to their businesses. He went to their homes, and they all got due process. And how many people were sent out of that country when he was in charge? Oh my God! Right? People forget that it didn't make the news every day because it was all done with due process, meaning everyone had their day in court.
There's no sensationalism that you couldn't sensationalize that, and it just. Right. It's a thing that, and I always try and impress this upon people. It's something that a lot of people don't like talking about because there's Obama's a Democratic darling, but at the same time, the way I was raised to call a spade a spade. So if he's a deporter in chief, he's a deporter in chief. Right. There ain't no getting around that.
Nope. That's what he did. Hey, look.
That's just history.
I voted for him. I don't agree with everything he did. I don't agree with the way he did things. I will always not agree with something somebody does eventually in power because sometimes the motivations aren't clear. Right now, we have a power that seems to be celebrating. We have a lot of people in power right now that don't have the experience at their jobs.
Yes.
And it's sort of like sending your kids to school and then telling you, oh, the teachers they're all working at a local news station. Now they're going to be your teachers for your kids. I'm like, wait, whoa. I need somebody that actually went and did that for a living and not a commentator. That's like hiring me. I'm like, don't hire me for that. If it's comics, fine, but don't hire me to fix your air conditioner. I'm going to be I'm going to be watching YouTube videos.
Oh no, that's me.
Right. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but there's, like I said, there's a lot of angry people out there, and they've been misled on both sides. There's a lot of misleading people. If we just go back to the Constitution, it's all pretty clear there. it's all pretty clear. I mean, it's like I said, you know, we've had so many great men in politics. John Lewis, who's somebody I met and you know, sat with and had lunch with in Atlanta, and you're like, this is an intelligent man. This is I don't want to be smarter than the people in charge. I want them to be much smarter than me. Right? And
Right.
we were kids. We were told all the adults were smarter when we were kids.
Right. That's well,
We were
and the
told
thing
the
is,
doctors know everything. The doctors know everything.
and the thing is, it's something that even, you know, when I was little, that's just what I assumed that I assumed everyone older than me knew what was what, and
Yeah,
it
that's a hard
wasn't.
reality.
Well, you know, and I was actually thankful that, you know, as I was getting, you know, not, you know, very much older, but like, you know, when I
Right.
was in my teens, you know, my mother instilled in me that, you know, she was like, there's a lot of old fools. She was like, she's always telling me, like, respect your elders, but like,
Right.
and you know, adults have, you know, gone through stuff that you've yet to go through. So
Right.
they,
Right.
you know, more often than not, they're probably going to know something you don't. But there are a
Right.
lot of old people out there who don't know shit about shit. So.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you know, it's we look. We all want to be. We all want the same things. We want to be.
Right.
We want to have a home. We want to feel safe. We want to eat when we're hungry. We want to sleep when we're tired.
Mm-hmm.
We want the people around us that we love to do well
Yes.
and to be taken care of. We want to have the opportunity to take care of them. And all these basic things everybody has in common. And I wish we'd spend more time with that and less time on this shit that's dividing us. Because the shit's that dividing us is POV, man. It's point of view, but it's also third person coming in and rocking us. When you and I could sit in the bar for hours drinking and talking comics, and then somebody comes in and, you know, tries to wreck the conversation or bring it to them. You know, like I said, so I try to keep on Twitter, or if you want to call it X, that's fine too.
Yeah, I'll call it.
I try to keep it comics oriented. Once in a while, politics. A lot of times, memories I try to put on there. But it's a balance, and that's why I half of the creators I know got off it, right?
Yeah.
Because they get angry and they get pissed off. I don't really get angry too much on them. When somebody disagrees, I'll ask them what's the point of view. But if I see they're hitting a wall or they start going, well, you're this, so screw you. When I do that, I'm like, okay, I can mute them now, or I can,
Yeah.
you know. I always say in the fight when you're having an argument and you start cursing and you start calling people names, that's when you lost.
Yeah.
That's when you lose. And that's why I don't put up with that. So that's why my numbers go like this every day. You know, I think I look at some other people and their numbers are steady. Mine go all over the place. And I know because it's people unfollowing me, and then later on they follow me again. And I see it. They don't know I see it every time. And I'm like, I get it. Or even we have a best friend. Eventually, one day, I need a break from this guy for 3 days. You know, I get it. I don't ever take it personal.
Nah.
But it is part. You know, it is part of. I think as a creator, I think it's okay to have a voice. I follow Stephen King, and I love when he's talking about stuff. I don't agree with everything.
Yeah,
but that is part of being a person. Like, and also. It gives me a little scope to learn something once in a while. I'll listen to somebody. I'll go, you know, I never thought of it like that. Now I understand why that person's mad at that. I get it, right? I get it. I don't believe they're eating the cats and the dogs, but I do understand how some people feel like whatever is making them feel that way, and the pushback is not really accurate thing, but it's a reality to them. So we have to just be open-minded, I guess, you know.
The world could use a lot more. Like, they could use a lot more of that. Like, we need more open minds and open hearts.
Yeah,
I think are
but people
the medicine.
People in charge don't like that.
Oh, well, no, because that's woke.
No, it's not even woke. Not even woke. They don't. You can't control people with an open mind.
No.
And they need to control, right? It's all about control for them. But if you have an open mind, that means you're willing to listen to something that you may not agree with, but you're able to listen to it. they don't like that. That's when they lose people. They, because they're looking for people to be blind, right? If they're looking
Right.
at people blind faith, no matter what this person does, I'm going to back him. He's doing horrible things. If it was my neighbor, I would have shot him by now. But because it's this guy, I'm going to be behind him 100%.
Mm-hmm.
That's team. That's they call it the team mentality.
Yep.
But it's not. That doesn't want open mindedness. That doesn't want to
Mm-mm.
say that they're not looking for that. So
Nah.
I don't know.
It's the same thing I always used to tell people. The whole yeah, I consider myself a leftist, but like I always say, I've never subscribed to the vote blue no matter who mentality, just because I like to know what people are about. There's a lot of
Right.
people who are blue that aren't actually, aligned to the things that I care about.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
When I remember, this past election, uh, you know, both candidates
Mhm.
I had issues with.
Yeah.
I kept with Kamala. Of course, I liked her more because I'm a New Yorker and but I kept yelling at the TV going, "You're in office now. Just lower the damn eggs prices.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just go and forget about that celebrity and
Yes.
lower eggs to $1 a dozen and say, I just lowered eggs to $1 a dozen. Like
Simple stuff.
listen to what the people are saying.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows who's around these people? They all have these little orbit people that feed them
Right.
stuff. I'm never going to be a politician. I will never be voted onto anything. Because I do my own research and I don't depend on other people to tell me what to think.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched that whole election and I'm just like, okay, something seems off here. Also, both politicians are just saying anything they want, and it's like, and I just felt like I said, give me a third person or a cat. Put a cat there, and I'll vote for the cat.
Well, I mean, there was a very there was just a lot of him and hawing.
Yes.
There was a lot of just
nobody.
People were saying
nobody ends a war in an afternoon.
No, not at all.
No,
Not at
don't
all.
believe that. Nobody can change the groceries in a day and change.
Yeah,
and
but you
guess
can
what?
start. But you can start the
Of
process.
Of course. Nobody comes in, but you don't make promises like that. That's ridiculous, right? And like I said, any other candidate is like, you're in the office now. Show me what you can do now, right? I just felt that it was two people that were not really in touch with reality in a way. And I still feel that way right now. I still feel, I turn on the news and I hear the president talk and I'm just like, who is feeding him this stuff? Like what is going on? So, I go back and I read a comic book. I'm like, oh, thank God the Punisher's here for me. See, he just blew that guy's head off. That guy deserved it. Yeah.
Frank makes everything, just it puts me at ease. Puts me at ease. Well, I'll just say this, for anyone that regardless of whether you're a fan of Harley Quinn or Elvira, both, I think we can all walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. Which I think that's going to be dropping this coming I think is it August the 6th?
No, it's August they told me it's August 20th.
20th. Yes, August. So yeah, it's actually no. So those two books are actually a lot closer together than I originally thought. So yeah, you got August 20th for Harley Quinn and Elvira. You've got
there's no politics in that book, by the way.
Look, it's
zero.
It's just two really nice ladies having a good time. Yeah.
There's a lot of they're both sexy in their own way. They both wear way too small clothing, so there's a lot of that happening. But I will say, I think the book's got something for everybody because tone-wise, it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to read a 20-page comic that is completely ridiculous and fun, and get your mind off the world around you, I suggest this is a great book for it.
And we got just shortly after that, just I think literally a couple of weeks, maybe give or take after, you can go pick up the Blue Falcon and Dynomutt September 3rd. And as I've already kind of been preaching the gospel of this book, it looks fun. It looks like it's got a lot to offer.
Yeah, it's got preview pages online. I think they have some online right now. So if you like how it looks, give it a shot. Read it in your comic shop, but don't tell them I said you can do that. Do you ever go to a comic shop where they have the comics in the bags already?
Yeah, I've seen that a time or two.
I don't like that. Well,
because I want to be able to put my hands on it. Because I'm not a collector. I'm more of a person that just likes to have stuff.
I'm a reader, so I know what the inside looks like.
And I feel like it's like it reminds me of like the way music stores used to be for a time. Back when music stores were a thing, when sometimes you could have like the little thing, you could put the headphones on and listen to like some samples of some music.
I love that until somebody made me paranoid. Like, you can get headlights from that. And I'm because I used to go to Tower Records on Broadway in Manhattan and put on the headphones, and then I'd press this album and that album and that, and I'd be like, this is pretty good. I'll pick up that record. I love sampling that stuff. They sold a ton of records that way.
Yeah. That used to be the gold standard to me.
Yeah. I miss record stores. I do.
Yeah. It's one of those. It's kind of one of those things that it's not just the ability to be able to go into a place and experience those things, but also to kind of have that you get that kind of community.
Like a comic shop. A comic shop.
You can walk into a shop. Like when I go into a shop, I see people like, oh hey, I know this this person over here, this person over there, person behind the counter. It's like like to me, I was never much of a drinker, but like for me, the comic shop was my bar. That was my Cheers, the place where everybody knew my name. I could just walk in and sit down.
You know what too? I always tell people you can go to a bar and get a non-alcohol drink. And still hang out, right?
Yeah.
Because people, the bar is just, it's a comfortable, I mean, most of the time, if there's TV screens with sports, and everybody's talking sports, right?
Yeah.
But I do love to socialize. And like people would come up to me at the cons. Amanda and I always talk to everybody. We're always, it's why I'm there. I'm not there just to sign a book. I'm there to hang out, and you can tell me what you like or don't like about something, and it's just about to share a little time with everybody. And and I think, like I said, bars are good for that because they're adults in there, so you kind of know it's over 21. You have that advantage to it. Movie theaters are not great places to talk with people,
though people find ways.
Yeah, I mean, comic shops. I remember I used to go to a store in LA. It was I'm forgetting the name of the store, but on Thursday, when the comics came out, it was Wednesday, right? Wednesday, and on Wednesday they'd have food trucks outside and tables, and people would sit there and eat and read their comics and talk to each other. I thought it was the coolest thing. I wish more of that happened.
Yeah, like the closest. I live in Memphis, Tennessee. I've never really had any of the shops that do that, but I have actually appreciated the shops we do have. Not all of them, but at least the ones I care about. They always would plant themselves right next to like really cool places to like go eat. So
that's good.
So like you could like we have a running joke about one of our shops, the Cellar, where every place it has been next to a Don Don's Hot Wings place, which is just fantastic. So like you could go get your comics and you could go right next door, get you like a 6, 8, whatever piece of hot wings or whatever. Right. And then that used to be like the tradition, but but yeah, I can't do that every week anymore. But yeah, it's but that's the type of thing that I think people kind of overlook when it comes to having that kind of community access.
Yeah, comics can be social.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say for reiteration purposes, please do not be shy going to your comic shop, asking, the person behind the counter to, hook up these books in your pull box. I'm actually going to teach y'all a little trick. Don't just ask for the one thing. Ask for the whole thing. Like, just don't say you just want the first issue of Harley and Elvira or Blue Falcon Dynomutt. Say you want the whole series, because little inside scoop, the publishers pay attention to that sort of stuff, and the ordering habits of shops. So comics are probably the one industry where pre-orders matter more than anywhere else.
Yes.
So yeah, make sure you do that. Because I've seen a lot of y'all talking about it and sounding interested. So and don't just go in the shop, just ask. Trust me, they won't bite.
It's not like a bookstore. The shelf life for a comic is 1 month.
Yes.
And then it's gone. Unless you got to go to a back issue. But most stores don't have them. Most stores won't have them. You have a month to get that book. Honestly, you have like a week, that. But
yes,
but some stores have it for a month. Anyway, dude, it was really nice talking to you. I have to run actually
yes,
now.
Please. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. And
thank you for everybody that's here. I can't see you, but I know you're out there. Ernie tells me you're out there, so I'm gonna have to trust him on that one.
Well, hey, you take care, and just hey, my door is always open. You ever have anything to promote?
I appreciate it, buddy. Way. Thank you for your time. I do appreciate it.
Take care. Bye.
Have a great day.
You too.
Take care.
All right. That was our talk. That was our talk with Jimmy Palmiotti, y'all. I have a link in the should be in the description. You should be able to see a link down there. It'll take you to where if you don't have an LCS in your area, you can go and scoop up the first issue of Harley Quinn and Elvira direct from Dynomutt if you don't have an LCS in your area. I don't have a link for the Blue Falcon and Dynomutt because I don't think they have it up on the Dynomutt website just yet, but you can still go into your LCS just the same. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to come and sit, chit-chat, all that good stuff. And I'll just say, for those of you who are going to be around tomorrow, we are going to have, I believe tomorrow we're going to be having the Dynomutt claim sale. I'm almost positive we're going to be having that tomorrow. So be ready. I'm also going to be doing a charity stream tomorrow as well, starting at 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern, I believe. I'll have to double check the dates on that or the times on that. But we will be back. So go check out those comics. Go check out everything. I got links to books that Jimmy has worked on as well. If y'all want to see more stuff by Jimmy, there'll be links in the description. There's links to follow him on social media. I actually highly recommend it because Jimmy is a hilarious guy. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, it is Friday. Yeah, Robo's not. I don't. Actually, I know for a fact Robo's daughter just moved back home, so I don't expect to see him live streaming. But I tell y'all what, if he does, we'll all be happily surprised together. But I can tell you who will be streaming tomorrow, and it will be me. But until next time, y'all, have a good night. Stay happy, safe, healthy, sane. Don't take any wooden nickels or anything of the such. And I will see you all next time. We're out of here. Good night. Peace.